This is my World War One virtual map. We first start off with Germany. Germany has suspended the gold standard and financed the war by borrowing. Reparation further strained the economic system, and the Republic printed money as the mark's value tumbled. Hyperinf- Hyperinflation soon rocketed Germany. Why did Germany join? Germany entered the World War One on August 1, 1914, when it declared war on Russia. The German invasion of Belgium caused Britain to declare war on Germany on August 4th. Most of the main parties were now at war. In October 1914, Turkey joined the war on Germany's side, becoming part of the Central Powers. Italy was allied with Germany, and Austria-Hungary before World War One was neutral in 1914 before switching to the Allied side in May 1915. The major cause of World War One was because Germany wanted imperialism, determination to become a world with power, or a superpower by crippling Russia and France in what it hoped would be a brief and decisive war like the Franco-Prussian War in 1870 through 1871. Moving on to Austria-Hungarian. What did they gain? They wanted to protect the dynasty existence and the Austro-Hungarian state as defined by the 1867 Compromise, but rash ties with Germany, diminish the Serbian threat, forge a new alignment with Bulgaria, retain Romania in a secret alliance, protect Bosnia from Serbian people, keep a wary eye on them. They also wanted Austria-Hungary did split after the war because the first one is the monarchy inability to satisfy its nationality's claims, and the second is its military defeat during the World War One, and later being often explained as a consequence of the former. Why did Austria-Hungary join? On July On July 28, 1914, 1 month to the day after Archduke Franz Ferdinand of Austria and his wife were killed by Serbian nationalists, Austria-Hungary declares war on Serbia, effectively beginning the First World War One. Moving on to Turkey. It is also remembered as one of the most significant battles of the conflict in Turkey. Overall, the total number of casualties in the Ottoman forces amounts to just under half of those mobilized to fight. Of these, more than 800,000 were killed. In 1923, Turkey was declared a republic after fighting against the Allied occupation 1919 through 1922 following the First World War. In the 1920s, the Turkish political leadership was mainly engaged in making reforms at the political level. Why did Turkey join? In the resulting secret defense treaty signed on 1st of August, Germany undertook to defend Ottoman territory if it was threatened, and Turkey would join with Germany if German treaty obligations with Austria forced it into war, but would not actually fight on Germany's side unless Bulgaria also did. Moving on to the Allies, which first starts off with France. The British and French wanted somehow to crush Germany's military capability, both as revenge and as insurance against the second conflict. They also came to want to crave up the Ottoman Empire between them and to allow a component parts of the Austro-Hungarian Empire to set up independent states. France's economy after World War One was ruined. The loss of manpower for production and also the wreck of agricultural land brought to an increased need for imports from the other countries. The war against Germany at the Western Front was fought mainly in France, which caused a drop in economy. This is the propaganda that France used for World War One. Moving on to why did France join? The French in 1914 entered the war because they had no alternative. The Germans had attacked them. Moving on to Italy. In 1915, Italy signed the Secret Treaty of London and came into the war on the side of the Triple Entente: Britain, France, Russia. By its terms, Italy would receive control over territory and its borders with Austria-Hungary, stretching from Trentino through the South Tyrol to Trieste, as well as the other areas. Italy had emerged from World War One in a poor and weakened condition, and after the war suffered inflation, massive debts, and extended depression. By 1920, the economy was in massive convulsion with mass unemployment, food shortages, strikes, and so on. Why did Italy join? Italy joined the Allies because of the Treaty of London and it wanted territory on the order of Austria-Hungary. Italy was forced to attack Austria-Hungary. Italy signed the Treaty of London, committing itself to enter World War One on the side of the Allies. On April 26, 1915, Italy is looking for supporting against France. Next up is Great Britain. After 1918, Britain gained territory from Germany and Africa, making British rule continuous from Cape Town to the Suez Canal, and they promptly built a railway northwards to the Mediterranean to prove it. The First World War One had a profound impact upon British society. The central agent of change was the British state. In the early stages of the war, its role was largely confined to security issues such as defense of the Realm Act, censorship, and aliens, but from 1915 onwards, the state powers was extended into the new eras. This is one of the British propaganda from World War One. Why did Great Britain join? Great Britain entered World War One on the 4th of August 1914 when the King declared war after the expiration of an ultimatum to Germany. The official explanation focused on protecting Belgium as a neutral country. The main reason, however, was to prevent a French defeat that would have left Germany in control of Western Europe. Moving on to Russia. On 30th of July, Russia declared general mobilization in support of Serbia. On 1st of August, Germany declared war on Russia, followed by Austria-Hungary. On the 6th, Russia and the Entente declared war on the Ottoman Empire in November 1914 after Ottoman warships had bombarded the Black Sea port of Odessa in late October. World War One exposed the weakness in the Tsarist government. The government's incompetence soon angered the citizens in Russia, and this is what led to the downfall of the Tsarist government. World War One led to Russian Revolution. Why did Russia join? Russia was in a military alliance with Serbia, so when Austria-Hungary declared war on Serbia because a Serbian leftist terrorist murdered a Habsburg archduke, Russia used this as an explanation to declare war on Habsburg. Moving on to Japan. Japan gained Germany's islands to the North Equator, the Marshall Islands, the Carolines, the Marianas, the Palau Islands, and the Kyatsko in China. Japan benefited from the European distraction in World War One, which enabled them to expand in German colonial territories in China and the South Pacific. Furthermore, this had a great influence upon Asian expansion, new income influence in mainland Asia, and Great Western Pacific naval power. Here's one propaganda that they used during World War One. Why did Japan join? Japan entered the war on the side of the Allies on the 23rd August 1914, seizing the opportunity of Imperial Germany's distraction with the European war to expand its sphere and influence in China and the Pacific. There was minimal fighting. It joined the Allies in order to make territorial gains. We first start off with Greece. On July 2nd, 1917, 7 weeks after King Constantine first abdicates his throne in Athens under pressure from the Allies, Greece declares war on the Central Powers, ending 3 years of neutrality by entering World War One alongside Britain, France, Russia, and Italy. This is one of the maps of the Ottoman Empire borders. This is modern day borders. Why did Greece join? Meanwhile, civil war threatened Greece as Constantine desperately sought promises of naval, military, and financial assistance from Germany, which he did not receive. With a pro-Allied prime minister firmly in place, Greece moved to the brink of entering World War One. Next up is Bulgaria. Bulgaria was punished for its part in World War One by the Treaty of Neuilly, which assigned the southern portion of the Dobruja region to Romania. A strip of western territory included Tsarbrod and Strumikia to the Kingdom of Serbs, Croats, and Slovenes. The Treaty of Bucharest of 10th of August 1913 confirmed the Bulgaria's defeat and the loss of Macedonia to Greece and Serbia, and the fertile agricultural region of southern Dobruja to Romania. Why did Bulgaria join? Negative sentiment grew particularly in France and Russia, whose officials blamed Bulgaria for the dissolution of the Balkan League and the alliance of Balkan states directed against the Ottoman Empire. Bulgaria entered the war on the side of the Central Powers, invading Serbia in September 1915. Next up is Egypt. Egypt became an enormous military base for Allied forces, serving as the rear area of the Stras Gallipoli campaign and the more successful Allied invasions of Palestine and Syria by the British Imperial Egyptian Expeditionary Force. World War One was a dreadful time period for people of Egypt. They were oppressed and mistreated by the imperial power that was Great Britain, who was desperate to hold on to Egypt and Suez Canal. The British drained Egypt of resources, took away the people's rights and independence, and harmed many Egyptians. Moving on to Romania. On August 18, 1916, the Romanian government signed a secret treaty with the Allies. By its terms, in the event of an Allied victory, Romania would acquire Transylvania up to the river Tis, the province of Bukovina to the river Pruth, and the entire Banat region, all territory under Austro-Hungarian control. Why did Romania join? The Allies wanted Romania to join their side in order to cut rail communications between Germany and Turkey, and to cut off Germany's oil supplies. Britain made loans, France sent a military training mission, and Russia promised modern munitions. Next up is Lebanon. The Ottoman Empire at least nominally ruled Mount Lebanon from its conquest in 1516 until the end of World War One in 1918. The Ottoman Sultan Selim 1516 to 1520, invaded Syria and Lebanon in 1560. Why did Lebanon join? The outbreak of World War One in August 1914 brought famine to Lebanon, mainly resulting from Turkish land and blockade and confiscation. It killed an estimated third to half of the Maronite population. Over the next 4 years, Turkey, which had al- allied itself with Germany and Austria-Hungary, abolished Lebanon's simultaneous status. Simultan- The outbreak of World War One in August 1914 brought famine to Lebanon, mainly resulting from the Turkish land blockade and confiscation. It killed an estimated third to half of the Maronite population over the next 4 years. The Turkish army also cut down trees from wood to fuel trains for military purpose. The date May 6 is commemorated annually in both countries at Martyrs' Day, and the site of Beirut has come to be known as Martyrs Square. The end of the Ottoman rule in Lebanon began in September 1918 when French forces landed on the Lebanese coast and the British moved into Palestine, opening the way for the liberation of Syria and Lebanon from Turkish rule. Next up is Syria. During World War One, French and British diplomats secretly agreed to divide the Ottoman Empire into zones as part of the Sykes-Picot Agreement of 1916. During World War Two, British and Free French troops occupied Syria, but shortly after the war ended, Syria officially became an independent country in 1946. Why did Syria join? Why did Syria go to war? Period from the outbreak of World War One in 1914 to the granting of France's mandate over Syria by the League of Nations in 1922 was marked by a complicated sequence of events of power politics during which Syrians achieved a brief moment of independence. Syrian intellectuals, mainly of them graduates of European or American-run universities, were urging to study of Arab history, literature, and language. Also, groups of Syrians publicly demanded decentralized Ottoman administration and administration reform. As Ottoman governor Sacis Jamal Pasha suppressed them, Syrians were underground and demanded complete Arab independence. Montenegro entered the First World War politically and militarily exhausted. The outcome of the First and Second Balkan War in 1912 and 1913 had a devastating impact on the future of Montenegro. From 1914 until January 1916, the people of Montenegro army fought successfully, especially during the retreat of the Serbian army. Here is a map of the Central Balkan region. Why did Montenegro join? Montenegro joined the First Balkan War in 1912, hoping to win a share in the last Ottoman-controlled areas of Rumelia. Montenegro then make further territorial gains by splitting Srpsk with Serbia on 30th May 1913. Next up is Serbia. Under pressure from its allies, Serbia conducted a limited offensive across the Sava River into the Austro-Hungarian region of Syrmia. With its Serbian First Army, the main operational goal was to delay the transport of the Austro-Hungarian Second Army to the Russian front. The political objective of the assassination was to break off Austro-Hungary's south province so they could be combined into Yugoslavia. The conspirators' motives were consistent with the movement that later became known as the Young Bosnia. The rest is France, United Kingdom, which is Great Britain, Greece, Italy, and Russia. The Axis are Bulgaria, Austria-Hungary, and Germany. Next up is the USA. First up is economics. World War One took the United States out of recession into the 44-month economic boom. 30 before the war, America had been a debtor nation. After the war, it became a lender, especially to Latin America. U.S. exports to Europe increased as those countries geared up for war. Political. The experience of World War One had major impact on the U.S. domestic politics, culture, and society. Women achieved the right to vote while other groups of American citizens were subject to systematic repression. Social factors. After World War One, the United States primarily gained prestige. The U.S. had been a decisive force in the English and French winning the war and had revealed its vast industrial might. It was well positioned to come out of the shadows and take over the baton of premier world power from Great Britain. And that is my World War One virtual map. Thank you.